The first school today is Savannah College of Art and Design with Co, the story building companion.
Hey everybody, my name is Scott, and this is Andrew, Ashley, and Maya, and we are from SCAD. It's Savannah College of Art and Design, and thank you very much for inviting us to the Expo. We've had an amazing week, and really am excited about showing you guys how SCAD does CUI. So let's start off with our process. We began in early April with some initial research that gave us these kind of 8 areas and topics that centered around CUIs, and we boiled that down to our 4 pillars. And these 4 kind of foundational pillars gave us direction on our initial ideation. And we came up with these 2 concepts of memory and friendship, and then we pushed and pulled on those 2 concepts and boiled it down to something we'll talk about with you today, companion. And then while doing this research, we're looking for our area of opportunity. We're looking for our problem to solve, and things like family interaction and a conversation that happens between a parent and a child, that kind of started rising up to the top. But not just family interactions. The barriers in family interactions, like scheduling, work, school, and of course, our lovely digital devices. Families would come home, plop down on the couch, and bury their head in the digital sand. But nobody freak out, everything's fine. We actually believe that technology can bring a family together. We do know that parents and children are our target audience now. And we hit the street. We went out, interviewed them, talked to them, and we found some really great nuggets of information that helped us. We found out that storytelling is one of the most powerful mediums of conversation that can happen between a parent and a child. But more than storytelling, the idea of story building. That stories that are built together between a parent and a child have much more meaning. Also, we learned about a companion. That a child can take a toy, they can take a prop, and they can give it a voice, personality, and they can give it life. And so our insights are directing us toward this idea of a story-building companion. I mean, there it is in front of us, right? I mean, can we all say it together now? Story-building companion. Thank you very much. And so we took our story-building companion and we named it Co. And this little guy here has a personality that's very friendly, very helpful, very approachable, and he is our story-building companion for families. And he uses conversation to facilitate the creation and the archiving and the retelling of family narratives.
Thank you, Scott. Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew, and I grew up in New York in the 90s. I remember as a child, I was afraid of fire trucks and policemen and people outside my bedroom window. And my mother, she would tell me stories of wildlife and tigers outside her bedroom window when she was growing up in South Korea. Her mother, my grandmother, would tell her stories to calm her down of walking amongst tanks and soldiers during the Korean War. And I realized that there's an incredible gap. Everybody knows an excellent storyteller, but not everybody is good at telling stories. I personally have been screwing them up my entire life. But conversation in the form of a story-building platform can bring families together, and they can build and hold on to those narratives that are irreplaceable. Co does this through a projector. This projector, it brings your story to life on the fly. Co also has an IR emitter and an IR depth sensor to give it a sense of where it is. It has a camera so that you could take your selfies. It'll recognize your gestures, your face. It has an LED at the bottom that changes color. This increases intensity. It blinks so that Co has a personality and it gives mood to the stories that it tells. It also has a wireless charging pad at its base. On the back, Co has another camera with the same functionality as the one on the front. It has a microphone array so that it can pick up where you are and have the conversation with you. It has Wi-Fi so we can stay updated, and it has a hi-fi speaker to give more life to the stories. So how does Co learn? Well, it does this through 4 components. Co understands language through natural language processing after it's been trained on very large data sets. These data sets include children talking to children and children talking to adults. 3 examples are Kids Corpus, T-Ball, and Childs. It also has a curated database. This is the content inside of Co. This curated database is made by a curation team that makes sure that everything that Co says is family friendly and appropriate. What about concepts and words that Co doesn't know? That's when the named entity recognizer comes into play. This named entity recognizer separates recognizable words like Seattle from generic unknown words, and it applies it to the metadata algorithm. This metadata algorithm applies new definitions to unknown concepts and unknown words based on contextual relationships. This is how Co learns.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, my name is Ashley, and the heart of our design is retelling, building, and archiving. We built Co because we wanted to bring the family together, but those barriers that we mentioned before, like school and work, sometimes are undeniable and we can't get away from them. We wanted to build a separate platform to allow parents to get connected to those memories and those stories that they build with Co when they're not in the same room. So maybe they're in another room cooking dinner, or they're here at a wonderful business trip here at Microsoft. We called this platform Rico, which is a content management system that's cloud-based and is specifically designed to be paired with Co. This Rico application allows parents to be updated on their children's interests and their ventures while they're away, but also acts as a sort of administration and archiving tool that gives parents the ability to fully take advantage of Co's capabilities. So with archiving, parents are able to access a weekly update or a calendar-like interface where they can access these stories that has the images and these stories as text that are recorded during their adventure. And they can either download this to their phone or they can print it out as an artifact. Rico also has the ability to generate infographics that give parents a sort of analysis of Co's interactions with the children. And that includes how much time Co has spent with the family, how much time Co has spent with a child alone, and then how many words has Co learned throughout its interactions, as well as how many times they've used that word. And finally, Rico allows parents to establish restrictions. So, for instance, they can talk to and chat with Rico through a conversation interface that kind of acts and was inspired by Microsoft's very own chatbot, Showwise.
Thank you, Ashley. Hello, everyone. My name is Maya, and I had the pleasure of working with Ginny Claggett and her children to validate Co. So during our initial meeting, we were there to observe the family partaking in storytelling and story building activities. What we saw is that the children's level of engagement really increased during story building. So after a few weeks and a few foam iterations, we revisited the family with our final prototype. And what we wanted to learn is whether at its bare minimum, Co has the ability to suspend the user's disbelief that this is a story building companion. It's not just a plastic shell with a bunch of electronics inside. So using voice functionality only, Co and the family built a story about a polar bear who wanted to visit his friend the wombat in Australia. And to the children, this was enough. In their words, Co was like magic. We also introduced Rico to Ginny, and as a mother of 4, and I'm sure the parents in here can relate, she expressed that, sometimes you're just too exhausted to remember the stories that you tell your children. And to her, Rico's greatest benefit is the ability to archive these stories. It's really one of the things that makes Co and Rico special. It's to create, archive, and retell stories, not just with parents and children, but with grandparents. And in turn, this creates a really valuable family artifact. Story building is a collaborative experience, one that brings families together. Co is our story building companion for families to create, archive, and retell magical stories. And no parent, child, grandparent, or anyone in here should be without a little magic. Thank you guys so much for this opportunity, and we hope you enjoyed meeting Co.
Thank you, Savannah. Now let's go on to the judges' comments. Rob, would you like to start?
Go ahead. You good? Thanks very much, guys. You did a really good job with the presentation. You guys must have rehearsed this 100,000 times. Very slick. Nice job. I'm curious about the formation of this industrial design piece in terms of what went into the thinking around its shape and form and what's inside it and all of that. But we don't really have time to get into all of that. But it's kind of an interesting, provocative device. It's sort of friendly and benevolent, and it's a projector and a recorder. I guess the only question in my mind is sort of what is the experience of reliving a story? I don't know whether that was something that was omitted for time or that you created as an example of the kind of thing that would be captured conversationally, and then what would the output look like? What was the output of a co-created story with Co? That would, I think, have been emotionally the sell in terms of that's the output, that's the value that it brings to a family to relive memories.
So again, congratulations. It was really well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You told the story well, but you didn't have a story tell. I'm curious, could you give a snapshot? Like I want to understand a bit more about what the role the projector plays in and how the visuals come and
Absolutely.
and stuff.
I can do the first
Okay.
one.
All right.
So a girl named Samantha, she walks into a house her house, and she hears a new voice coming from the kitchen. And in the kitchen, she hears the voice of Co that her parents have bought her. She walks up to it, and this is the first time they've interacted. And the very first story that Co builds is a personalized backstory. It's the hero's origin story, and it's what makes Co unique to every family. In this situation, Co would ask Samantha, what do you think I look like? She would say, maybe an egg. And based on that key word, the projector would come to life. Co would ask Samantha to step aside, point it in a right direction, and the picture of a nest, perhaps, would come up to the wall. And then based on that, they go on this journey, almost like a Mad Libs exchange, where new images are applied to the environment based on their conversation.
And what state is it in at this point? Like, I don't expect to be a product, but I'm just curious, what was the level of refinement you got?
Excuse me?
What's the level you got in terms of implementation that you could actually test the ideas?
This was fully functional at one point. We ran all the hardware, all the pieces.
Yeah.
It's prototype. We got all the pieces working, and we ran this through a Raspberry Pi using processing and Python. Unfortunately, wires are very difficult to get on a plane, we realized.
None of us have ever had that problem. So that's great. Thanks a million.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, agree, amazing presentation, and the beginning of the presentation really sort of, got me emotionally as a parent, and I think I agree that I wanted the story, I wanted the experience, and actually, and if there were more time, and I would have been more interested and open to the detail around the UI and the features. So that I agree was the one piece that could have hooked me. It was the pitch, but beautifully done.
Go ahead.
Oh my. No.
We have some time if you have comments.
I mean, I would agree with that too. I mean, I'm sort of curious a bit, like there was this layer that you guys thought about in terms of like the emotional quality of the story and the sort of idea that light would play a role in helping lend a kind of emotional kind of commentary over images. I'm wondering like how you actually imagined that experience happening.
Yeah, I think the LED light could be something almost like a welcoming, kind of a warming light when someone enters the room, that our IR sensors can tell, yes, someone's coming in the room, and the LED light just slowly glows. And also perhaps during a story, if there's really an exciting time, perhaps the color changes and blinks and gives the story more personality. So it's kind of a visual aid that can happen during a story, and also, again, as a greeting, perhaps.
Yeah, I thought that was a really potentially like a fruitful sort of thing, like to develop as a kind of every object, if it's going to have some emotional import, has to have that one detail that feels like it actually the personality of that thing lives there.
Yes.
And it seemed like that could actually be the outlet for that.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for the thoughtful comments. Thank you, Savannah.
Yeah, thanks.
Great job.